What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Salty Runback, here to be your weekly intake of North American Developmental League of Legends. We are finally here. The NACL kicks off this Wednesday. It's the league that started this podcast. Of course, we talk about a lot of other things, of course, but this is the special one here. And we finally got our season on the road, a little bit less than a quarter of the way through the year, but we finally made it. We've got some teams to talk about, some news to talk about, and of course some games to talk about finally here in our headlines. My name is Grapes, joined alongside Hawk. Hawk, how are you doing today?
Grapes, I'm doing great. I'm going to be honest, it's been a short day because I celebrated my birthday last night with all my friends, and I woke up very late. There were a lot of substances in my body, but it was a great time. we had a wonderful time, and now my birthday gift. My actual birthday's on Thursday, so my birthday gift will be the NACL season starting, and we have another great week of League of Legends queued up after some really good ones already. You know, we had a bit of like a lull week outside of some exciting CLOL games this past weekend. But now, like, we have NACL straight into probably the best remaining week of CLOL games until we get to Natties, I think it's fair to say, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Yeah, there's just the most games that we have in a single day, because after this it'll start to really wean down, and you'll get some exciting games.
Some great matches for sure.
Yeah, in terms of like auto qualifying and like, you know, getting your resume up. Maybe this is the biggest week for that. So we're going to talk about CLOL a little bit at the end of the show, but this is primarily focused about the NACL because the season is starting this week, and we have a very special very special part 2 coming out on Wednesday.
You guys are going to really enjoy this one.
So make sure you stay tuned to that. By the way, you might notice we're releasing on a Monday. That's, again, what our schedule is going to look like for the foreseeable future. At least we're going to try it out. Headlines on Mondays, the part 2s on Wednesdays. That way you get the full weekend/week of NACL and CLOL or whatever is going on before we do it all over again and start recapping those games.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. As well as, you know, like, comment, all that fun stuff helps us out a lot. Check out all of our social media platforms at @SaltyRunbackNA, including our Patreon, where I'm trying to get in contact with Hoarder to do a semi-pro. I think we were supposed to do it today, but then I didn't wake up for a while, so I think we're going to reschedule.
There's still time.
Yeah. But anyway, make sure you check out all that stuff. Again, you're not going to want to miss this part 2 on Wednesday morning, where I think Rhino is going to be a really big fan of this one. He was one of the biggest fans of the last time we did this. If that gives you guys a little bit of a teaser, for what's to come.
Yeah, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Also, subscribe to our Patreon because it gets you access to those bonus episodes and gets you the access to ask some questions to us in our headlines episode, which is what we're going to be starting off here with today. This first Patreon headline is going to come from none other than the coach of Supernova / Ole Miss in Collamer, who asks us, where would Los Ratones place in the NACL? Now, very big weekend of games as well as that just wrapped up in EU with Los Ratones, the team with Kadril, the Baus, Reckless, Nemesis, all those guys winning the entirety of EU Masters. They actually played through like a GSL stage and finished second in their group, but then won a massive 5-game banger against Supermassive before sweeping their semifinal and final best of 5s. And, you know, we talked about Los Ratones a little bit when this team first got founded. Now they are, you know, here, and so I guess this is our chance to talk about just what they have meant to Tier 2 League of Legends as well. But also the question from Collamer is, where would they place in the NACL if they got plopped right in here at the start of the season on Wednesday?
It's a really interesting question, honestly. Yeah, congratulations to Los Ratones. I was generally in the camp that they were not like the runaway favorites to win the league. Guys, something really important to understand about EMEA Masters is that the NLC, where Los Ratones played, is not the strongest regional league, you know, compared to things like LFL, LVP. Like, NLC has good teams, don't get me wrong, but it's not necessarily considered the strongest. So a lot of people are like, oh my god, they didn't drop a game in NLC. Clearly they're going to be the favorites to win EMEA Masters. I'm like, I don't know. There's a lot of talent in EMEA. And I think we saw that, obviously Los Ratones did drop a series, but ultimately they were definitely the best team and they deserved their win. I think they were definitely one of the favorites, but maybe not the runaway favorite. And they proved a lot. As far as the question at hand, where would they place in the NACL? This is a really interesting one because I'm just going to come out right out and say I do not think this team wins the NACL.
Wow.
I said this in the Salty Runback Discord when this question was asked. I think Velia versus Yuji would absolutely feed families. That's a lot of talent going up against each other right there. But I mean, I think there's enough talent in North America. I don't think Los Ratones just runs away with the NACL. Like, I look at a team like DarkZero, which we're going to talk about at length in one of our next headlines. I also look at a team like Near Airport. If you're looking at the veterans of like Nemesis and Reckless and Crowny, I think these teams absolutely have the talent to at least stack up against Los Ratones. Like, I think they could win, but I don't think they necessarily do win. Does that make sense?
Definitely. I think I'm kind of in the same boat as you, where they are probably they're in the tier of one of the favorites if they are in this league. But and maybe if we were doing like an odds book, they'd be the most likely team to win. But it's definitely not like a overwhelming percent. I feel like it'd be like, let's say there's like those 4 teams at the top with Los Ratones included. Maybe I give them like a 25% chance or a 30% chance of winning. Maybe slightly higher than some of the other teams, but but definitely compared to some of the other teams that we have here, like there's some good teams that we have here in the NACL as well. And it's not like Los Ratones like had like fully clean games. I think like their early games just like obviously were like very weak, and I think a very fun part of watching them play throughout the whole tournament was like seeing Balas go 0-5 in lane and seeing them be down a few thousand gold, but then somehow like winning these insane team fights because they're like very talented players. But I feel like some of the teams in NA could definitely take advantage of that, and so we're holding our ground a little bit here. We're not just letting the guys come and roll us over.
We'll talk about this a lot more, but I think Grapes and I are pretty in agreement that there's this top 3 teams of Near Airport, Luminosity, and DarkZero, like that should absolutely, like 99% odds one of these 3 teams wins the NACL. And I think, as you put it, Grapes, I think Los Ratones joins that echelon of teams, and they're one of the better ones. I will say, Clerky, I know you're a friend of the show. I would pay money to watch DarkZero play against Los Ratones.
No,
if we could set up like a Luminosity, Near Airport, DarkZero versus like KC Blue, Los Ratones, and then like, I don't know, pick your champion like Supermassive or something like LAN. That'd be pretty fucking sick. I don't know like if anyone has the power to make that happen.
No, here's
that would be pretty dank. That's all I'm saying.
Here's Near Airport at MSI in Vancouver. Plays against Los Ratones. It's a show match there before
That'd
the
be
finals.
pretty good. That would be pretty good.
We need to make that happen.
That'd be pretty good. But I would want, like, the thing is, though, like, I don't think Near Airport's the best team, right? So I think that would be a great show match. But I would love to see DarkZero play them, dude, because I think DarkZero is the best team.
I mean, if we could get like tier 2 worlds, I know like they do that over in the east, where they have like the tier 2 Chinese teams and the tier 2 Korean teams like playing against each other. If we get our teams involved in there too, like get NA and EU in there. I know we did the tier 2 Americas Challengers tournament last year that I don't think is happening again this year, but like there's
like surely Doublelift, K-Drill, Inabai, the combined forces of them 3 have the resources to actually make something like this a reality if they were motivated enough. And I think it'd be very cool. Just if anyone here is watching this that like has the power to at least like get that idea to the people that like could make it happen, I would really be interested in seeing like top 3 NACL against like top 3 EMA Masters or something along those lines. I think it'd be super sick.
I know Baus and TF Blade have some beef, so they'd have to settle that on the Rift when they face off.
Also, like, imagine watching Baus play against Zamudo. Like, you get like Draven top against Inting Scion or some shit, dude. Like, oh my god, it'd be so good. It'd be so good. And then Luminosity's like the most normal team there. Like,
yeah, just super basic. You know,
but like you have Tomio still wearing like gym shorts on the stage, like, you know, like. Okay, we got some personalities on that team.
We need tier 2 worlds because we need to see like then we need to see like T1 challengers with Smash come over and like or
T1 challengers with Guma though, because that's all the fucking
yeah.
Shout out
Griffin
Ox that has been
too.
fighting the good fight on Twitter against the Guma Yushi
God.
stands. My brother, I don't think it's worth it to you, but I respect you standing on business.
We're getting off the rails here. Thank you so
are
much,
getting off the
Collamer,
rails.
for the question. We got a lot.
Yeah, that's a great.
NACL.
This was a really great Patreon headline. Thank you so much, Collamer, for this one. This is a good one.
I will say the one thing that we didn't talk about with Los Ratones, I think will flow well into our first headline of the show, which is about the other influencer team that is here in North America, and that is NieR Airport. And Hawk, I think you might owe Doublelift a bit of an apology because after some hesitation and after some deliberation, a big announcement came out. They got the whole guys in photo shoots. They got them all suited up, did a big interview thing, announcing that NieR Airport will be playing in the NACL starting this Wednesday. Their first matchup actually going to be up against Luminosity. We'll talk a little bit about that matchup in a little bit. But first, just about the announcement in general. Seems like Doublelift and Pobelter and all the guys there, they got together. They really decided like if they wanted to do this, and the sentiment overall from that interview was one of that they all kind of were maybe holding back how much they really wanted to compete, and so they're both hoping to. In the video, they said their goals were both to promote it to the LTA and take down Disguise, but also to try and uplift the NACL scene or the NA Challenger scene here by and also just uplifting North American League of Legends as a whole by streaming all their scrims and providing content that maybe is a little bit different than what a typical NACL team could provide. Question for you, Hawk. What would quantify a success for this team, both in and out of game?
Yeah. Look, I gotta give credit where credit's due. I was very critical of NieR Airport in their, I think, haphazard is fair to say, approach to the OQs, their wishy-washiness, and I was extremely critical of that because I think it just felt like I was not sure that these guys would actually provide value in the way that tier 2, tier 3 needs. And it felt like they weren't doing that. And you know what? They came out with a great announcement video that definitely makes me feel a lot better about their presence in the league. Because this is going to segue me straight into what I've already been saying, but I think it's worth repeating, is I think success for this team is drawing eyes to tier 2. Like, look, I think whether or not, Doublelift and the guys are doing it for their brands, right? Like, at the end of the day. And that's great. Like, they should. And they should get a bag out of their hard work. But I think, like it or not, and it seems like they acknowledged this in their announcement video, which I appreciate, is that this is definitely bigger than just them. And that's what it was, I think, for Los Ratones as well. And I think there's a really great opportunity here to actually just provide value to the space as a whole. And so I think if they're able to do that, I think that is a success. I do not think they need to win the league. I do not think they need to promote into the LTA because actually, dare I say, a team like DarkZero beating NieR Airport and maybe going on themselves to promote to the LTA, which we'll talk about pretty soon here, that might be more of a win for tier 2 than anybody or than anything. And now, obviously, I know Doublelift and them, they really want to promote. They're absolutely in the conversation. We just mentioned that we have them as part of that top 3 alongside Luminosity and DarkZero. And I think it's good. It's good for the league if they're competitive. I think it's good for them if they're competitive. But I do think success, to me, is bigger than just like the numbers that they're going to be able to pull into their brands. And I think they're going to do numbers regardless of if they win. I think that's an important thing. So yeah, I think that actually sums up my thoughts pretty well. I hope I articulated that well, because and truly, again, credit where credit's due. I was a bit of a doubter, hater, even as some may say, and it seems like NieR Airport is aware of sort of, I think, like the responsibility. It's fair to say that they have. So yeah, I'm pleased.
Yeah, and even though, obviously, like, these guys are not as big as somebody like K-Drill, who is literally getting 250,000 viewers, like, I don't think we should necessarily expect that from the NACL games, but hey, what they were able to put up during the OQs is way more than what they were going to get without Doublelift and the crew being here, right? And so I think that is going to be the most important thing. Just like, seeing near airport scrim against teams like Ole Miss so far has already like maybe raised some of those players' stocks up, right? Like we've seen that happen. Like when they played Pulse, that got a lot of excitement. Although obviously, of course, that's kind of fell to the wayside at this point. But I think the biggest thing is I hope that they do more than just like stream their scrims. They have just founded a YouTube channel.
Agreed. Yeah.
They just set up a YouTube channel. I think like Drew, who was the guy who did a lot of the old TSM stuff, was like in charge of that announcement video. If they could come out with things like what Los Ratones is doing, is they fully just come and put together like a compilation of every one of their scrim sets. It could be like 2 to 3 hours long, just like supercut of all the different POVs and things like that, and post it. And it does really, really well because people enjoy watching that kind of content. And I feel like that would do really well for near airport and also just do well for the NACL. I remember when Delta Fox like made their team, I would watch all the supercuts of their games when like they would get posted on like I'm a Cutie Pie's channel every week as well. So I feel like that's a really good way to connect people with the space because that was a big part of what their announcement video was about as well. Pobelter, I think either in the main interview or I think they interviewed he interviewed with Travis after as well. He mentioned how, when you're a pro player and your main goal is just always to win, it's really hard to like focus on your brand, focus on like building up the space in terms of content because you feel like you're falling behind as a player. But these guys now have the unique perspective where they're going to be still operating as content creators while also operating as competitive players. And so if they're able to use that as well as their already inflated brands compared to a lot of the rest of the teams in the space, if they do it the right way with YouTube channels, with shorts, which it seems like they're all really excited
near
to do.
airport, if you need a guy to help you make great content that's familiar with the Tier 2 space and is Los Angeles local, I know this great bird that would love to help. So just putting that out there. You can check out my portfolio website.
Yeah.
I've made some good stuff. If you like salty runback.
Big vouch. I'll help out from the sidelines as well if you need it. But yeah. I feel like just like things like that, little like stream highlights of the scrims, like that would do so much. I know like Double It posted on his own channel, but having like a centralized place to watch that and like connect specifically with this team instead of like the individual players makes it a little bit bigger than just the players on their own.
I 100% agree. I think that is a win for them, and then I think it will win for the space. Dude, like, I think of, like, small moments where it's, like, speakers like, we're playing against that guy, and they're looking at, like, Cerulean fucking, like, jacked out of his mind, like, mogging on him, right? Like,
yeah.
I think if near airport playing in this league can make more people go like, damn, that guy Zamudo is awesome. Like him and TF Blade went blow for blow with each other in like a 5-game series. Like, I think that to me is a win because I'm fairly reasonably confident that near airport, like those guys are smart enough to get their worth out of playing in this league. Right. But it's about how can their presence uplift everybody else? Rising tides raise all ships kind of thing. And I 100% agree. I think being smart about the way that they do content, like I was extremely impressed by that announcement video. I absolutely need to give them credit for, I think they really like locked in and they put out something good. And if they can continue to put out content of that quality, I will have absolutely no complaints with near airport in this league. So, yeah, I think that's where I'm at.
So here we go. Talking about the gameplay specifically now. They're playing against Luminosity in that first matchup. It's going to be the second series on Wednesday. How good is this near airport team exactly? Because, they swept their way through the open qualifiers, but they're going to be going up against a team that many consider to be the tournament favorites. I mean, we haven't seen this Luminosity gaming team play too much together. I mean, like, what do you think is going to happen in this matchup?
It's going to be really interesting. I mean, this is the best matchup of the weekend. This is going to be probably one of the matches of the regular season, if I had to guess, because also this is against players that fans are familiar with. Fake God, Insanity, Zazel, Tactical in particular. I know Tomio had that little stint on Shopify. I'm really hoping that people can see Tomio again, like talking about near airport bringing eyes, like I think a lot of fans see Tomio as just like some failed promotion, right? But like Tomio is a great personality and a great brand and a great player in Tier 2 for a while. And so I would love to see kind of that brought to the fore. I think I favor... I don't know. This is the teams that like I have power ranked second. Again, I have DarkZero as my favorite, like just straight up. So I don't know who I think is gonna win, to be honest with you. Like looking across the board, I think there's more individual talent on Near Airport, but like is their gameplay refined enough for that yet? I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see. I mean, this is gonna be a great match. This is definitely match of the weekend. Like, watch it. It's gonna be great.
Fuck it, give me NA 2-1, baby. Give me NA 2-1.
I should have done that whole rant to do a Stephen A. Smith like Near Airport in 3 or some shit. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know if that necessarily means that like they're gonna be the second, but they're gonna be better than Luminosity throughout the whole season. But I think that would be a really great way to kick off the year. I'm rooting for. My prediction will stand as NA 2-1. Doublelift gets his revenge over Tactical for stealing his job back in 2020, and
so good.
They go up to 1-0.
I mean, it's just a great match. Give me Luminosity in 3. But I think Near Airport scales.
All right. Sounds good. You know, we talked about those two favorites so far. Let's talk about the other team that we consider to be the favorite, and that is the defending champions here in our next headline. Dragonsteel x Maryville University, and they have a new addition to their squad as well, as over the weekend they announced that they will be partnering with esports organization DarkZero. This is a team that has participated in many different esports, including Apex Legends and Valorant. Apex, they won a couple of world championships even in, and now they're going to be.
They won ALGS at the Galen Center. DarkZero. It was really fun.
Exactly. There we go. And now they're going to be joining alongside Maryville. Official name is going to be DarkZero Dragonsteel, as they'll be competing with the roster, of course, of Zamudo, Yuji, Spyrex, the Jed, and Zyko. But what was the most interesting about this is that Maryville and DarkZero have kind of announced a bit of a unique partnership of how this organization is going to work. And basically how Clerky explained it is that Maryville as a college doesn't want to function as a pure professional team, especially in a situation where there is direct qualification to the LTA at the line. So they brought in DarkZero to help them manage the team during the season, and then also if they do get the promotion, if they do promote into the LTA, DarkZero would then take on the roster spot, or take on the LTA spot, take on that franchise spot, and Maryville would then become the feeder team to DarkZero, meaning that the tier 2 would really run through MU, which is a very unique business model. You know, Saito and Parth apparently are also a big part of putting this together. Hawk, is this the future model of what tier 2 esports should look like in the future?
We've had lengthy conversations about investments in minor league systems versus collegiate. Grapes, I'm going to be honest. Clerky, to me, continues to be on the cutting edge of esports business decisions that actually seem like they have thought put into them. I'm very impressed at what he continues to do with the Maryville program. Maybe to everybody out there that ask why Maryville are considered the kings of collegiate, even though they haven't won CLOL in 6 years, I think it's things like this that kind of play into that. It's not just about the winning, right? I think this is absolutely Clerky both doing right by his players, doing right by the collegiate model and brand of Maryville University, and I mean doing right by DarkZero. I think this is a phenomenal decision. I'm extremely impressed. I think this absolutely should be the future. I think with teams like, Supernova / Ole Miss already in the league as well. We have a currently unaffiliated Winthrop. I would absolutely not be surprised to see this continue, and for this to be the future of the league. I really have nothing but praise, I think, to give to everyone involved in these decisions, because it feels like these are very intentional. They have a long-term goal thought out, but with short-term benefit for everybody involved as well. You know what I mean? It feels just it just feels smart. I'm just impressed.
So the thing I'm interested
I'm being very positive on the show today. I know, but
I know this is very anti what we've been doing over the past couple of weeks, but we're just so excited the NACL is starting, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, here's so I agree with you all the way. I think this is awesome, and it should be a really, really cool thing to watch develop, especially if Maryville do end up winning the spot, and then DarkZero I want to see what that relationship ends up looking like. Where
True.
I'm not as sure as what it's gonna how it would function if I guess what I mean is the reason why I'm not immediately just every other team should do this is because there's only one guest slot, right? And also there is the rule of if you are affiliated with an LCS, an LTA team, like if you're FlyQuest Challengers or something like that, you can't promote into the LTA. And I'm just not sure where that line necessarily sits right now with where the partnership between DarkZero and Maryville are. And also, would a collegiate team be willing to play in the NACL like as a feeder system for a team like FlyQuest if it means that they can't directly promote into the LTA themselves?
Well, but this is best case scenario because weren't colleges not allowed to promote already as colleges? I thought it was colleges and affiliate teams.
They said that they were like going to
promote in as like Maryville University could not be Maryville University in the LTA, from what I remember.
I think the announcement said that they would have another announcement at a later date with further information, but I don't know if that was ever like fully confirmed.
From what I remember, if Maryville University promoted into the LTA, that roster would have to not play under the banner of Maryville University, and that's why I'm saying I think this is Dan really doing well by the collegiate side of things too, because I do think there's been like some questions of like, man, is Maryville a college or a pro esports team? You know what I mean? Now this waves all those questions away, where it's like, great, Maryville can continue to operate at an extremely high level, be a talent pipeline, but they're not trying to be some pro esports team. Now they have DarkZero to be that, and they can just be partnered with them, which I think is actually very smart because it allows Maryville to continue being a college. You get what I mean? Like they still get that air of like amateur, and I think that's smart.
Don't get me wrong. I totally agree. But my first personal reaction to this relationship happening was like, oh, this should be the future. Like every LTA team should just have a college team that like becomes their feeder system. But then the questions of like what does the promotion system look like and things like that come into play a little bit more, I guess, right?
I see what you're saying there. But then like, right, if you're a team that thinks you can just promote into the league, that's when you just try to do it, right?
Then just do it. Okay,
right.
Yeah. I mean, again, I would if Shopify Rebellion suddenly like picks up the ISU organization, or like I guess not ISU anymore, rest in peace, but like a team like Northwood or something, or like a Fisher, or like that, some of those colleges become involved. Like I think that would be a really cool way to set things up like this. But I'm not sure what that relationship looks like if you are an already existing LTA or
right. I definitely agree
spot.
that like it seems to make more sense for DarkZero, who does not exist in the LTA, as opposed to say Shopify. I think I agree with you there. Yeah.
I'm just curious to see like I want to see like what the financials look like in that way, and like would it be possible for a system like this to exist with a franchise organization, and would a college be interested in this happening? Because if they are, then that would be a really cool way to like integrate.
It's got to boost recruitment, surely, right? If you can say like again, say Winthrop partners with Sentinels, which I know has been also talked about behind closed doors here and there. Like if Winthrop partnered with Sentinels, that has to make more people want to go play League of Legends at Winthrop, you know?
Yeah,
surely.
No, I agree. I think it's
so there's definitely upside for the colleges aside from just like name.
I meant more like upside for the LTA orgs too. I mean, there's like a lot of things to consider here as well. So I don't know. I love this personal partnership. I'm interested to see if it makes sense as a business model for other organizations, but we always talk about collegiate should be a tier 2, but right now the league exists in a way where that's not necessarily the case. But I feel like this is a really nice like kind of in between point where you could have independent rosters compete under an OQ banner and try to like promote in themselves, but you could also maybe have these colleges functioning as the feeder systems for other professional teams. They can compete in this league and also compete in CLOL. I think that is the dream scenario that could potentially work out. That way, like, you as an LTA organization don't have to like bear as much as the brunt of the finances as well, or the housing and things like that. Like there's a lot of good things that come with a relationship like this, and I'm excited to see how it forms out in the future.
Truly, I've got to say, I know Dan's a friend of the show. Seriously, I think this guy is one of the people on the cutting edge of esports right now. Like definitely one of the leaders in the industry. So I'm really impressed. I agree. I have nothing but good things to say about this. I definitely am curious. I agree with you. Like, is this just the Maryville effect?
Is this just the Maryville thing? Yeah.
Right.
Or
and that'll be I agree. I'm interested to see how this kind of becomes a thing in 2026 and beyond.
Absolutely. Well, wishing the best to DarkZero and Maryville in both the NACL and Collegiate. Let's talk about another organization that has made some big changes going into this week of games, and that is Polestar. We talked a little bit about all the drama,
a lot of it about
all of the crazy stuff that happened over behind closed doors, which resulted in the original starting five of Polestar leaving the organization and refusing to play with them, or deciding that they want to go operate on their own, find a different team, play in the OQs in the next split. Well, Polestar didn't want to give up their spot to anybody else, and so has decided to bring in some new players. And the roster that they have decided to add, according to Leakpedia and according to apparently the NACL Discord and spreadsheets and everything like that,
it's official, yeah,
is the Slated Six roster that participated in the open qualifiers. Now, we had some excitement about this Slated Six team coming in. If you need a refresher, their team consisted of Dr. Calculus, Bio, Utter, Hub, and Tub, the Hubby Tubby bot lane. They impressed a lot in week 1 and then fell short in week number 2, losing both to the Ducky Getters and St. Clair College to finish in just 16th place in the OQ. So definitely not very close to a spot through the OQ promotion-wise, but now they will be participating in the NACL under Pulse. Now,
yeah,
obviously there was a lot of different ways that this could have gone in terms of what is going to happen with Pulse. Overall, Hawk, after Pulse left and all of that, like obviously that was the best solution, but is what happened right now a best case scenario from after that?
There's a lot to unpack here. Yeah, so let's talk about like the drama side of things, and maybe we can talk about the gameplay side of things. So, I definitely think I am very happy that it's not a team of 5 mercenaries. You know what I mean? Like, I was worried the Polestar would be a mercenary team. I know guys like Barrick, Kim Down, Sushi all got reached out to. Clearly, they either said no or, you know, the Slated Six thing ended up happening. So that's cool. I think that definitely speaks to the fact that like a lot of these really talented top of tier 3 players didn't kind of bite on this offer. And then kind of on the other side of that coin, I think I'm generally glad that like it is at least a full roster plus Sharpie, who is now apparently going to be coaching this team, not Psycho. I think it's interesting.
By the way, if that's true, fucking insane that like they didn't want Ido to be the coach, but they just are fully willing to just let somebody else be the coach.
I'm not gonna get into all, because Sharpie's also a controversial figure in the space. It's fair to say. I don't really want to get into all that, but yeah, it's interesting.
The amount of
it's a lot of ego, I think.
Sorry, I'll go after you. Want to finish?
Yeah, it's a lot of ego involved for sure. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, like this is just 5 young players that they all have the safety of being able to say like they're continuing to play together, and they're betting on themselves. I will say, like I really hope this doesn't torpedo their careers, because I like these 5 players and I think there's like a lot of talent here. But I mean, Grapes, I think this team is 10th. Like, it's a tier 3 team. This is just not an NACL team.
There were 12 to 15 other, depending on how you count the tiebreakers, teams that performed better than them.
Yeah, with
before
Thin
you
Uncle
even
Phil
get
coaching.
into the NACL.
With Thin Uncle Phil coaching.
Well, to be fair, the draft from Thin Uncle Phil. I mean, I love Phil, but you know, we'll see.
Sure.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what we're cooking right
draft. Coaching's more than draft.
I'm messing. But okay. The fact that this is basically the exact same, like from my understanding, what is happening right now is basically the exact same situation that the original players on Pulse offered to the organization, where it was, we will play for you for the reduced rate or no money like you requested. We just want to have a little bit more autonomy. We want to be a 5-man unit. We want to have our coach come in.
Pulse's ownership got their feelings hurt, Grapes, so they couldn't have those
I know, but that's why
back.
it's insane, because then they just like got their feelings hurt by this other team instead. Like I don't get it. You could have. It could have.
Yeah.
Your brand and your ability in the NACL would have been improved by tenfold if you just dropped the ego the first time instead of doing it again later on, after you obviously asked every other person in the OQs other than this one team, and they all said no to you. Just makes zero sense to
did
me.
we switch bodies today? Like, damn, get them, cook their asses, Graves, cook their asses.
It's almost, we're recording this almost at 3 a.m. on my time.
No, fucking cook them, bro. This is good. I agree. Sorry, I took like a very I was just trying to more talk about like the what is.
Okay, no,
but
I
completely agree with you.
Original question, was this the best case scenario for all parties after they already fucked up and like the Pulse players were let go? I think so, and I agree with you. Like,
I hesitate to say. I don't know what the best case. It's fine. I accept this though.
For all parties, it's the best case scenario. Pulse gets a team.
I don't know if it's the best case scenario for Pulse. Pulse is going to get relegated. I don't think there's a world where this team does not get.
But there was no other situation that I think they would get. Like, I think a ragtag group of players, even if individually each of them were better than all the players on Slated Six, would do worse. We saw what happened with like AOE after their roster boomed after like a week. There were some good players on that team, but they still finished 10th. You know?
But what I worry about though is I feel like this is gonna be 5 young players are just gonna get fucking destroyed. Like that's what scares me. And not only that, I do think some people will blacklist this team, which I get it because I'm definitely rooting against the org. But I hope people don't take it out on 5 young players. You know what I mean? Like. Because I still like them.
It's such a fine line. I agree. I really want to see these players succeed. I hope we get individual moments from each of them.
Right.
I really am a big
like
fan
I
of
hope like on the way to getting relegated, we can see Bio like have a great Rengar game or some shit. You know what I mean? And people can be like, okay, this guy might be a tier 2 talent someday. He's just not there yet. You know?
Yeah, and I think that's the thing with this roster is that they're all players that could be NACL in some way at some point. I think we all. We're really excited to watch like the Hub Tub bot lane play. Like I thought they had a really great week number 1. Hub specifically, like really played good. Utters, somebody who's like popped up here and there across a bunch of, or Adam has popped up in a bunch of different OQs and has like been a top performer on some of the maybe some of the like the mid-tier OQ teams and has been like a promising
has had
player.
some good ACLs too.
And then of course the Ducky Getters core, right? So this is like a team that we were super excited about coming in. I think we're still excited about these players. It's just they proved that they were not NACL caliber by playing in the OQ. Like you lost to St. Clair, you lost to the Ducky Getters.
Which I don't think was the expectation from most people not named Slayer Silverman. You know what I mean? Like I think most people would have agreed that they probably weren't gonna promote, which is totally okay. Like that's fine.
There was a world where they could have if like everything clicked the right way. But like you looked at the roster originally, it's like, oh, there's a world where this could have happened, and that world is not the world that we're living in right now. But it is the world where they're playing in the NACL. And yeah, I think it's gonna be a tough season for them. I hope the players can learn and take advantage of the opportunity that they were given, justly or unjustly. And
Pulse look like clowns for sure.
And we'll see what happens. I mean, again, the fact that this exact situation could have happened with the original roster that Pulse signed and wanted to play for them, but it just results in this instead. It just it's everybody loses at the end of the day. The players that are going to be playing for Pulse don't get like a fair shake of things compared to like what they. I
think they're in a very
tough
situation. Yeah,
the org looks stupid, and the players that originally were on the team don't get to play, and so it's just like.
Now instead of having Toasty playing in the NACL, we have Adam. No shade to Adam, but like, come on, man! Like, we gotta be realistic. Like, it's stupid. It's just stupid.
We'll see what happens with Pulse. I don't know. Well, I'm rooting for I'm rooting for the players. Best of luck.
I'm rooting for the players. I'm rooting against the org, and I think they're 10th. I'm sorry. I think AMI is definitely a better team than them. By the way, like I know a lot of people are like, oh, AMI like I go 10th. I'm like, bro, Pulse is 10th.
Again, that was a team that expectations maybe were similar to that of Slated Six. I think we had them in the same tier on our tier list when we first did the episode.
But they did it right.
But they proved it by winning. And They won more games than them, and so now they are pretty definitively the better team.
They won their games and they did it with seemingly a good org. I don't know. I've had no reason to have issue with Apex so far. So
all that to say, very weird situation that is gonna just. I don't know. Going to be treaded upon lightly, I assume, on the broadcast. Let's move on to overall predictions and overall outlook on the NACL, though, as we can move on to our next headline. As there's a lot of games, a single round robin that leads into that double elimination playoff bracket in this first split. Full Fearless as well, but I think the big thing that we want to do is have some hot takes, and we did a 90, 50, 10. We want to do something a little bit different this time around. So, Hawk, imagine this hypothetical situation. You're given 3 different sums of money, one small, one large, and one medium. What you're supposed to do is take the large sum of money and put it on a bet that is most likely going to get you like a small return, but it's like a very high likelihood, so you feel confident to put that large sum of money in. Then for your medium sum of money, you want to bet on a result or a performance that is about 50-50. You could win, you could lose. Either way, the EV is pretty similar. And then you want to sprinkle that little extra money onto a long shot bet, something that maybe has a very low likelihood of happening, but you feel like you have a good opportunity to take advantage of the system here. So where are you putting these different sums of money? Where's your like cold, medium, and hot takes for this NACL spring split?
Yeah, and we're doing this specifically regarding the awards, right? So like MVP.
Yeah, but if you want to do like a placement thing or something like that too, like that's fine.
Let's
like
do it like this. Let's do MVP, small, medium, large, then rookie the split small. Like let's do the awards. I think that's interesting.
Okay. So we're gonna do so the awards, to be clear: most valuable prospect, most improved player, and then rookie of the year or rookie of the split. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay,
let's start with MVP. I am going to put it's a lock, a toss up, and a sprinkle, right?
Yep.
Okay, my lock for MVP. I've said his name multiple times on the show already today. I think this is the year for Zamudo to really like show what he's got. I think this player has improved drastically in his time under the Niles-led Maryville. It's been extremely impressive. I think we saw what he's capable of in finals. It was extremely impressive. I think this is the year where he can continue to do that. So I think Zamudo, because I don't think UG wins again, right? And then I think guys like Insanity and Spica like probably can't win at this point either. So that's why I'm kind of putting it there on Zamudo. Like even though Zamudo is not necessarily the best player in the league, I think this is like his year to win MVP prospect. For toss up, you guys know I'm a Shogo Glazer. I am going to go on record and say that I think Shogo has a very real angle to being the number 1 AD carry in the NACL. I think this is absolutely his prove it year. And I think he can do it. As far as the sprinkle, can TF Blade win MV prospect?
He's a rookie.
I think
he could win rookie of the year.
I think TF Blade MV prospect is within the realm of possibility based on what I've gotten to see. How quickly he improved in a very short time makes me nervous for the rest of the NACL field. So, yeah, that's going to be my 3.
So you took like I was probably gonna say Zamudo. I feel like he's like a big favorite to win the award.
I think he's the betting odds favorite to probably win MVP for the split. Him and Sajed, surely, right?
I guess Sajed, yeah, Sajed probably sneaks his way in there as well. I'll give him a shout out. I think he was playing really well at the end of the year. I'm very excited to see what he looks like on this Dragonsteel roster specifically. In like the games that he has played, CLOL like has looked good. Obviously, like what I am curious about is like what his relationship with Zyko is going to be like, because Scary Jerry and Zyko were very much like a lane focused bot lane where they would play the Kalista Renatas. They would like really try to dominate.
Yeah, I think Sajed plays a little differently than like
Sajed is much more of like a team fighter, right? Like
yeah.
He plays the Jinxes. He plays, even maybe more utility like Jhin and stuff like that. So that is what I'm curious to see what that relationship looks like, or how Maryville or
Agreed.
how DarkZero decide to play the game a little bit differently. But I'd say like those two probably the biggest favorites for that MVP. For my 50-50, I'll throw one at Samikin. I feel like that is like a pretty safe choice. I think the one downside you could say is maybe he's like an extra split away. Maybe he needs an extra split to like take that extra leap before making that next jump. But really like what we saw from him at the end of the summer split on Blue Water. I want to give a shout out to the Salt Mine guys who also mentioned that this is actually a meta that probably suits Samikin a little bit more. Like control mages are pretty strong at this point in season 15 compared to last summer when it was like all marksmen that were like dominating the meta, and Samikin was still winning games on like Orianna and Zoe, right? So I think this could be like a
lot
good
of
meta
melee
that
mids
suits
in the
him
meta
as well.
right now that Samikin does not play, but yeah.
True enough. Yeah. And
Yone Akali, Silas.
For my sprinkle though. So I feel like the sprinkle has to go to somebody again who's like maybe an extra like split away, right? Like, because that's always the big thing is like, does somebody deserve the MVP award? Like, even if it's like a breakout split for them, if they maybe need another split or so. But on that note,
I mean, I think it depends on how well they play.
No,
you
yeah.
know?
So that's the trade off, right?
I have someone that I think I'm trying to download your brain right now.
I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit onto Crimson with CCG.
Crimson. Okay, that was not my guess. I thought you were gonna say mobility.
Mobility is. I feel like mobility is like a little like. I feel like
mobility
closer,
has been playing amazing
50.
League of Legends for the last 6 months. Whether or not he's MV prospect tier, I kind of am with you. That maybe not. But mobility,
no,
I think
I was even gonna say
has taken
I think
a huge
he's a little
leap.
closer. He's closer to the 50 than the 10 for me.
Interesting.
Like, I think.
I mean,
like,
I think
really
if he continues to improve at the rate, like I think mobility actually could get to that conversation some point.
I think I said this like back when Ole Miss played Winthrop for the first time, but like if mobility keeps up that level of growth that he had from last summer into this year, he could very well be in the LTA by 2026.
He had a heater in summer 24 for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna shout out Crimson as being a little MVP sprinkle here. This guy, I think, has had some good performances on CCG. The team was not great last season, absolutely. Like, you know, they had their ups and downs as an organization, as a squad, as a group of 5. But I think that Crimson and then Kryra when he came in as well, like really helped like right the ship on this team. And I feel like this is a big split for Crimson as well, right? Like this is number 2 in the NACL. He had his rookie split where he did okay, and then now we're gonna see him what he looks like with another with another full off season with, you know, a full roster that he's played a lot with, like or at least a solid core that he's played a lot with Aojun and Array. And I think the CCG team is a team that can punch a little bit higher into that top 4, top 3 tier, but it's going to require a guy like Crimson to really step up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Crimson's a good shout. Definitely a player that we have our eyes on this year. I'll try to fly through the other 2 pretty quickly because I know we're kind of going long on time.
Let's just shout out a couple candidates in each role.
Couple candidates. So let's say Rookie of the Split. Dude, can Manui win Rookie of the Split at support? Is that how that works? I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Dardock's not eligible to win when he's swapped to support, right? So.
Well, but Dardock wouldn't be a. Oh well, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Fuck, I don't know, dude. Like, 5 mini low jazz are definitely like a good shout. Hoarder.
TF Blade
winning Rookie of the Split would be really funny. Most improved, I think, is actually more interesting. Kisno seems like a betting odds guy.
Betting odds favorite, I don't know, but I do like shout out Kisno. Because,
like Kisno.
I mean, I thought he played really good on Dragoon's Goons.
Yeah, I agree. I think Kisno is definitely like a good shout, or like Aaron / Levitate / Samakin. Denethor.
Denethor could be one, especially if he takes a big jump. Because I feel like Denethor is, after all the hype he had in Tier 3, he was like
did not have a great day. He was fine,
I
guess.
Yeah, he was
not
fine.
Really. It wasn't great.
But if he like becomes that guy that was like diffing people in the qualifiers last year, like in the NACL, could definitely be a
first team top laner in spring split, right? So yeah, if he can do that again. A conversation we've had internally with the NACL broadcast team is that we are quite in agreement that Fake God and Zamudo are like in a league of their own amongst top laners, and then like who is kind of gonna like be able to contest them. And I think guys like Crimson, Denethor, TF Blade, like literally anybody could try to take that leap. Just the expectation is that nobody will, and so I think like if a guy like Denethor does, that's where they could win most improved.
Absolutely. I think any of those top laners could take a jump, whether it's like Hoarder for Rookie of the Split, Crimson for, you know, maybe an MVP, maybe a most improved as well, or Denethor, as you mentioned.
I'm going to give a shout to Breezy at most improved as well. Sorry, quick slide in right there for Breezy.
Okay.
Because Breezy's played on some garbage teams for the last 2 years, man.
He's been good though.
He has been
like, a good player for
so
a long time.
But like if CCG is a contender and Breezy's smurfing, I think he could definitely win the award.
He need a big jump, he need like a huge jump because he's already like pretty high up there in my opinion. So anyway, a lot of awards to think about. It's just our first little discussion on it. I'm sure as we get towards
it's a very early prediction.
Yeah.
We're Salt Street betting it a little bit right now. We'll see who has the better takes.
We'll check back in, see who had the better takes. Exactly. Let's end this episode, though, with some CLOL, as obviously a big week for the NACL, but also a huge week for College League of Legends. We qualified 8 more teams into the National Championship. Congratulations to all of them. Been making some videos over on our Twitter if you want to check out some of the full recaps of that. But let's talk about, Hawk, the matchups that are happening this upcoming Saturday in the North, South, East, and West conferences. We have both the upper finals, which will, the winner will lock a spot in the grand finals, and also, more importantly, lock themselves a spot in the double elimination portion of the championship bracket. We then have the lower semifinals between the teams that are currently seeded 3rd and 4th. Loser of this becomes 4th place, and the winner, of course, plays against the loser of that upper finals matchup. And then the 5th place game is also happening. This is a new addition to the CLOL season
Tim.
that was placed in because of the fact that a maximum of 5 teams can clinch a spot per conference, in terms of only one extra team can get voted in by the selection committee per North, South, East, and West. This 5th place game, a little bit of an extra way to differentiate those 2 teams, get some extra tape. Out of the 4 matchups, we can go through them kind of throughout this headline, or out of those 3 different tiers of competition, which one will you have your eyes on the most?
It's hard, man, because I'm just going to talk about each of them because I don't know exactly what to say. Where I think upper finals is going to be really hype because we're going to see basically just top 10 teams in the country playing against each other everywhere, with, I guess, Weber State kind of being the googly-eyed Hydra, but, I mean, Weber State's still a great team, you know what I mean? Sorry, what was that?
SCAD's in there as well. Like on the SCAD and Weber, I feel like are similar. Like
they're the 2 googly-eyed Hydras, but the point is they're still great teams, right? You're right, I forgot about SCAD, but and so it's gonna be amazing matches, and also, like, again, you talk about the stakes, getting into grand finals for regionals and also guaranteed upper bracket at champs is a pretty big thing. And I think, like, all those matches generally going to be must-watch League of Legends. I especially look at the Western versus St. Clair rematch. I think that should be some high quality entertainment right there. Kind of looking down the line, 4th place match. Funnily enough, even though that these are the only elimination matches, like, it has like not that many stakes for me, but also, like, it's really valuable, I think, to get tape on a lot of these, like, 15 to 25th seeds. You know what I mean? Like these teams, like, it's going to give us a lot of tape on, like, middle of the pack teams. So that one is interesting for that reason. Again, like, all good matches. And then 5th place, I think some of them are very important. Like, I look at, like, North. For, like, Minnesota, I think is, like, a team in a lot of conversations for getting an at-large bid into the tournament. I also look at Carleton and an East 5th place matchup against McGill. But then, like, I don't think I care about South and West's 5th place matches that much. Because if I'm being completely honest, I think these teams are probably on the outside looking in when it comes to tournament selection. So, like, yeah, like, some of them are very important for getting tape, but I think some of them are not.
The 5th place one is what's most interesting to me just from a narrative perspective. Maybe not in terms of, like, the gameplay of, like, how high quality we think the games are going to be, because it's obviously a little bit lower on in the standings. But when you think about, of course, those 8 vote-ins, as we mentioned before, 3 probably going to the NACC, at least 2 going to the MEC. That leaves you with, like, 3 maximum left available.
We've had conversations, like, internally, which the committee's not a thing yet, but we're assuming that a lot of us will be on the committee. Like, there is a very real world where only one regional conference 5th seed gets voted into the tournament. So, like, that's definitely just something to think about.
Well, and that's where these 5th place matchups become important, because I think, as you said, Minnesota and Carleton, like, if they 3-0 their 5th place games, I think that pretty much puts them in. That's like a quality win.
I would agree.
Carleton hasn't had like the
Carleton has
played
no Q1
BU
wins.
And Guelph. BU and Guelph are like their two biggest wins, and they're like kind of Q2-ish / maybe on the borderline, right? Minnesota's beaten Bethany, who now is probably going to be in the top 25, as well as taking games here and there off of different teams.
Beat MSU as well, which is considered Q1 to me.
So, yeah, I think Minnesota, if they 3-0, absolutely they're in. I think that I'm expecting them to as well.
I think Minnesota has the most to play for.
Yeah, Carleton, if they 3-0, I think they're pretty. They're kind of.
Carleton's
they're in
a real bubble
space.
team for me right now. I think Carleton, to me, they need to 3-0, and then they also need a team like Ottawa to like shit the bed. You know what I mean?
Here's my question to you, Hawk. Why do you consider why do you consider BU to be a worse win for Carleton than Michigan State was for Minnesota? I feel like those teams for me are in a very similar tier at this point, as at some point being in the top 30-25 until eventually they lost a game to a team like Carleton or like Minnesota, who then replaced them in the rankings. To me, they're very similar teams.
That's a fair question. Yeah, that's a fair question. I mean, Michigan State rather spent more time in the top 25 down the stretch of the season. Like, I think I was repeatedly disappointed by Boston, but I will say the Q1 conversation does get a little dicey. Like, the way I have it considered is basically just like the top 6 in every conference. But like, if like Boston, U of T are probably more Q1 than say like UT Austin, who I actually had as an exclusion to that rule. So
yeah, I
agree with you. It is a bit of a gray area.
I think Carleton and Minnesota are in very similar boats, where if they make it no exception that they are clearly the 5th best team in their conference.
I mean, okay, I will say I think Minnesota's win over Bethany is a very important piece of their resume compared to what Carleton has. I will just say that. So, and the fact that they went to 5 in that best of 5 against Bethany, whereas I will say Carleton lost fairly convincingly to Stony Brook. It was not that close. So I do, and that maybe kind of comes down to how strong do we think Stony Brook is. Is Stony Brook going to go on a run and beat UTM? I think it's in the realm of possibility, to be honest, but like, we'll see. So I do think I think I have Minnesota higher than Carleton right now.
I think if Carleton 3-0 McGill, the only way they don't make it is if we have like all 3 Ottawa teams do well and then like Northeastern beat Ball State.
I agree. No, I completely I think I agree. Yeah.
So yeah, those are the 2 interesting 5th place matchups for me. As you say, the first place games or the upper finals, I feel like it's interesting because there's a very clear top 2 and 3-4 in each conference, it seems, at this point, that have opened up. Like UCI Weber are all the teams in the upper finals are very clearly the top 2 teams in the respective conferences because they've both all met in the 4-0 games and now in the upper finals both times. So part of me is kind of just expecting them to make the grand finals as well. There's a couple of exceptions where I could see different situations unfolding, but I guess just the other games have very similar effects to me, where it's just more tape to kind of shuffle our rankings around a little bit. Although at this point, because they're all already qualified, I find the 5th place games maybe to be a little bit more interesting, at least in the North and in the East.
I think definitely the teams that have the most to gain from the other matches, not the 5th place games this weekend, are again the South Floridas of the world. You know what I mean? That have been 15 in our polls recently or something like that. I think those are the teams that really have something to gain because, they're playing for a 3 seed or something in the tournament, And so if they can go on a run, again, maybe make grand finals to get into the upper bracket, I think those are the teams that have the most to gain here.
Yeah. So we'll keep you guys updated on our socials. I've been posting some shorts about CLOL just because I feel like there's not a lot of coverage. There's streams of the NACL every day.
Check out
not a ton of stuff
Grapes
about CLOL.
Grapes Cast, or is it Speedy Grapes on TikTok?
Grapes Cast on TikTok, Speedy Grapes on Twitter. That's where you'll find some of the videos there. I'm gonna do a new bracketology, I think. And just
dude, I love the bracketology conversation we were just having about Carleton and it's gonna be really interesting to track. Obviously, the games will have to play out, but I mean, that's probably going to do it for... I just cut it instead of fading. Doesn't matter. That's probably going to do it for us here today. Another bit of a longer one. NACL on the horizon. CLOL conversation only continuing to get more interesting as the field does start to see some clarity. Congratulations to everyone that qualified, and congratulations to everyone that's going to be playing in the NACL this week. I, at the end of the day, am always rooting for all 50 players that we have in our league to really make their presence felt, you know, continue to build their brands, and it's going to be an absolute blast. I can't wait to be a part of it. I have my first show day coming up next week on April 2nd, so that'll be really fun. Make sure you subscribe, like the video, all of that. Check out all of our social media outside Salty Runback NA, including our Patreon, if you would like to support us. It really does mean the world. Also at Speedy Grapes, as we said, at Hawkcasts. We've been tweeting all about the leagues that we cover. And join our Discord. I didn't mention that earlier. The Discord continues to have more and more traffic coming through it, and it's really actually been a pleasure to see how we've built, I think, a pretty good community there so far. So come and be a part of it and join the discussion. But until then, if you think that TF Blade is not going to win Rookie of the Split, you can take what we said with a grain of salt. I've been Hawk. That's been Grapes. Have a great night.